I just wanted to make this short video to show you how to finish up hanging your door. I'm going to do it a couple different ways, one with the router jig, one by hand, so that I'll give you a little option depending upon what you're comfortable with. And I'm also going to include how to put some hardware on there to stop the door, and what those screw rails in the back to mount it to the wall, how they go in. So hopefully we'll cover all that information in this video. I want to show you how to make a little fixture for doing this with the router and a jig as opposed to just doing it by hand. So this is about 2-inch wide MDF, 1/2 inch thick MDF. Wood would work as well, but anyways, this stuff is just MDF. It's what I like to use. All right, and how I'm going to start this out, take a piece of tape, and pull it tight. All right. So slide this guy in so it's decently in there. And I'm just going to lay down a piece of tape. So what I am next going to do is fold these back and put a little glue on them. Nice spread there. Nice spread, flop it back, and I'm just going to put a little bit more on. Okay. One. There we go. Now, if I want to reinforce this with clamps, which I don't really think I need to do, but I'll go ahead anyways. Don't think we really need them, but I'm a big believer that if an extra 30 seconds increases the likelihood of success, then I'm going to do it. The other thing here is this is all sitting flat. You know, it's not rocking. The hinge drops in. And we're going to use that for a router guide when we set our hinges. But that's the first step right now. And everything, once again, is nice and flat. To finish this jig off, what I did was I just cut it. I made each side of this about 2 inches. Basically, the deciding factor was when I run my router in, I don't want the base rubbing past or extending past the edge, because when I throw it in the opening, that would create a problem. All right, so I just put it on there, a couple of pin nails. This distance from here to here is critical, and basically, and there's a picture I'm going to insert in the video. It starts at the pin and comes out to the end. It's a little bit less than 7/16. There's another image I had that will show you the depth of this. When I place this on here, I want that carbide tip to be just a little bit higher than the thickness of the leaf. Okay. To use this, I'll just clamp it on here. Clamp it on here so it's nice and secure. And just using the bearing that is on the bit, I'm going to ride that bearing around here and it will excavate it all out. And that's how that guy's done. And now I'm just going to square up the edges. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks good indeed. Another way to do this is the more traditional method. So what I'm going to do is set my square to that distance that we talked about, right to where the start of the pin is. Just under 7/16. And to do one by hand, I'm going to take an X-Acto, make a line, set it here, and set it down. Now, however you choose to excavate this, it's completely up to you. You can do this all by hand, or you can do it with a router, either way. Now, I usually just set my bit here and roll it over a little bit, just to help with the chip out. Just to help with the chip out there. Right, now that I've got them traced out, I'm just going to excavate a little bit. And bring that out. Yeah, that's good. Never have your hand in line with the chisel. Never have your hand in line with the chisel. I cannot emphasize that enough. Alright, so there's pretty much roughed in. I'm going to go back to my router plane and just get all the low spots that need to come down. And there aren't too many, it seems. And once again, there we go, fits right in there. So there's two different ways to do it. Router with a fixture. I could have just done this with the router, but instead I did it with the chisel. But I do have a photo that shows the right depth. These are great little bits. They're by a company called Mana. And they have a bearing and a cutter, and these cutters come in different lengths. So this one was thick enough to do a hinge, so that's why I grabbed it. Now that we've gone over how to clean out these, I'm going to go ahead and route them on this door. And to do that, I'm going to come up 2 inches. The reason I'm coming up 2 inches is when I transfer the door to the opening, I'll still be able to use my router. So 2 inches, 2 inches. And I'm just going to line this edge up with the pencil. It's all I'm going to do is pop it there. Obviously you want to make sure you're doing it on the right corner. Alright, so that one's in place. I'm just going to go ahead and route this. Pop these off, and I'm just going to square up my corners. Give them a check, and they seem good to go. All right, that's good. So what I'm going to do here is now fit the door and transfer the hinges over to the opening. So I'm going to take a 6-inch ruler, just one of my 6-inch rulers, and set it down. A Formica chip, just something that's about a 32nd of an inch thick will do it. I'm just going to set my door right in there. And with the pencil, I am just going to transfer these marks. So there's my line, there's my line. I'm just going to give it a check to see if I'm still good. Yep, things look good. So having transferred these, I'm going to route them in now. So here's my indicator line. I'm going to set up right to my line, put a clamp on it. Okay, that's pretty good, but I do want a second clamp. And I noticed that because of the shelf, I can't get one on there. So just to give it a little more support, I'm going to do a kind of a bridge and just put that clamp right here. It just helps hold it in place. Now we're just going to finish square these up. Okay, to mount this, I'm going to set my hinge in there. Take my awl and put a mark, not centered, but a little bit towards the back. Having that hole a little towards the back means that when I shoot the screw in, it will actually push it towards the back, which is what I want to see happen. When you're putting in a hinge, I usually just put one screw in to start with, just one. And preferably, it's a steel screw or something, not necessarily the final brass screw that they're going to give you to work with. Alright, so I've mounted my hinges on the door. I've squared up the corners on here. I'm just going to line them up and set them in there, and they look pretty good. Don't be surprised if you might have to move one of these one way or the other. So I'm going to mark these and just put that center one in. And once again, I'm going to drill the hole a little towards the back. Alright, at this point we've got it mounted, and I'm bringing it up there, and I don't know if you can see a few things, but I'm going to try to illustrate a point with a couple of photos. See if I can get it to work. So to try to fix this, I'm going to set this hinge deeper. That'll pull this corner down, even out that gap, and generate a larger gap there. Yeah. Okay, so by loosening that and setting that one hinge deeper, I evened up this gap and opened up this one, so it's not rubbing anymore. Now what I've got to do is mark the door and start cutting it down. So to mark the door, I'm going to set this block right here with the rail and then just make a line up. And do the same thing over here. Then I'm going to take the door off and size it down. Alright, that looks pretty good. This just needs a few strokes with the plane and it will be good. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So it just nicely closes, even gap. This is a little larger than this side, but I only have one screw on each side of the hinge. And I'm pretty confident that when I put the second one in, it'll pull it, second and third ones in, it'll pull it over. And if not, I'll just take a little block plane to that. So, there you go. So we've got our cabinet door nicely hung and all that. The drawer will go in, you understand that. I just want to go over a few other little things. Alright. So I'm going to lay this guy down flat. Alright. And this is the side. You can see how that lifts up. We would want to put some kind of hardware there. Now right here we're looking at the bottom shelf corner. But this is one of those magnetic catches that works pretty well. So for this, you would mount it like that. Literally with its back off, you could set it there. If you wanted to put it on the bottom and get your pencil, do your holes, line everything up, and then screw it on. Now the downside with having it on the bottom is that it might interfere and it's not that attractive. The other way to do it would be to put a support block on there. Something like this, just a piece of wood with an angle cut. It glues in there. And then you could mount your hardware, like that. It's a little less obtrusive, but then you could put your hardware mounted something like that, scoot it over, make this a little smaller. Now in terms of hanging the cabinet, okay, we have these two pieces that are mitered in. You can glue these or screw through to the bottom. You get those cleats that when you hang it on the wall, you'll screw through to attach it. But like I said, the whole purpose of this cabinet was just to introduce you to some new techniques. And I'm hoping this lets you take it to the end and get it all done.